Hank has a way of mustering up the right people for the right job. He had called me in to do all the control work. He called someone else in if there was a problem in designing a machine. He would call a machine designer in. He would muster these people and get them excited over the project. And that's what made it interesting. It was fun. We worked nights, we worked weekends to get something done. But he got us all enthused over it. He said, look, this would be a great product, we'll get it out in the market. And it was that type of attitude that I'm sure led to his success in the future.
Many people would have, after 2 or 3 years of evolving in a part-time business like I was, decided that they wanted to do it full-time. I waited 13 years approximately before I did it. And I built the company up until it was well known. So moving from Richardson Scale Company into Henderson Industries was a lateral move. It was one where I tested the waters with a salary that I didn't need and drew that salary for about a year and saw that the company worked.
When Hank began the business, I'm sure that I didn't realize it would grow to what it is today. I certainly hoped it would, but I didn't envision anything quite as big. He outgrew the basement, and from that stage they moved on to rented space. And each time it's been to a larger space, and each time, of course, made me somewhat nervous because of the risks involved.
There are just many things that I think small businesses have to be flexible about if they want to survive. And sometimes they have to completely change altogether from what they were originally doing. So a decision that we made some years ago was we're not going to just stay in the scale business, but that we were going to get into the control panel business as well. So we were in the scale business, we were in the control panel business, and that led us into working with the Department of Defense.
In 1979, Henderson Industries joined with a much larger engineering firm to design and manufacture aviation equipment for the government. The larger company left them in the lurch, though, by closing its engineering design operation. Although Henderson could have defaulted, they chose to fulfill all obligations of the contract. It cost them a lot of money, but it preserved their reputation as a reliable contractor.
This was supposed to be a project which started Henderson Industries off on doing government work. This was supposed to be, when you graduated, successful new government contractor. This was nearly a disaster for us. We were ready to default. So I made a decision, and that was to purchase the interest, that interest of that major company and bring those people into Henderson Industries and complete this job. And when we made this decision, it cost Henderson Industries an additional $1.8 million. So I would just go home and say, Ethel, we have to put another X thousand dollars into the company. We need another check. And it kept going and going and going until for all intents and purposes, the entire savings just a few years ago were put back into the company. Some people wouldn't do that. They'd say, to hell with the government work. You know, I don't want any more of that. Let's default on it. We'll stay with the commercial stuff. But there was a decision made then, one, that we wanted to continue with government work. It's the major purchaser of equipment in the world. And that we could weather that storm and come out of it. And we have. Henderson Industries now is, I think, one of the most successful minority businesses. And let me take minority out. We're one of the very successful business in the United States.
There was an ad in the paper for Henderson Industries, which I really got excited about. And I wanted to look for a new job because I wasn't satisfied where I was. and I was still looking for more potential in my job field. So I saw the ad in the paper, and I ran here right away because it was like, wow, this is my dream to working for this company. I want to work for this company. Every job that I had worked on before, they always expressed that I was very good in what I was doing, but I was never given any responsibilities that where I could grow in the company. So I came here during my vacation, and I filled an application, and I talked with the supervisor of the production area, and she told me that she would get back to me. So I waited for about a month, and I wanted to call back, and I said no. I want them to want me as much as I want to work for them. The next day I got home and I had the phone call. I can't express to you how happy I was. I was overjoyed because I felt that I was going to get a chance to prove all of these years that I had worked that even though they were saying that I was good, that they were never giving me the opportunity to prove that how good I really was. And this was my chance. This was my opportunity.
Henderson Industries has, in the last 2 years, tripled its workforce. And that growth has meant that there were problems that we didn't anticipate. I think something that's been a little hard for me and a lot harder for some of our new employees to relate to is that for Hank and for many long-term employees, and there are many employees with the company that have been here 20 years, this is more than just a factory. This is like they live here. It's their home. And for Hank, this business is him. So we're very conscious of how the place looks. I mean, it has to be clean and orderly. And Mr. Henderson personally will be out on the floor looking at things to see if they're lined up and if we've cleaned up. We find ourselves bringing in some employees who think they're coming to work in a factory, and there are some adjustments that have to be made.
I can remember when Ken was working at the company, I guess for 6 or 7 years, and I was just starting, that the mere sound of my father's car pulling into the parking lot would make us like jump to attention and make sure we were busy doing something before he walked through the door. He was known as the Hawk by some of the employees because they knew whatever, I mean, if they thought everything was perfect, if there was one thing that they forgot to take care of, undoubtedly he would either walk out at that exact moment or he'd walk by and he'd say, you know, that one wire is not tied down properly, or, you know, there's a mistake on your drawing here. Undoubtedly he would find the only mistake on something.
I would ask why things in a shop aren't square and parallel so that everything looked nice and organized.
I have spent hours with our personnel people telling them and insisting that they inform all the new employees what I expect. Every now and then there's a slip up, and sometimes I personally write notes and put them on the bulletin board. Who did this and why, and who do you expect to pick it up? I guess that I'm a nitpicker in some areas, but I don't care. I want it the way I want it, and when they have their company, they can have it the way they want it. A few years ago, Henderson was asked by an interviewer, how large do you want to get? And I said, $10 million gross sales. I would be very happy. It reminds me when we were graduating from State University, and it was the last few days, and the professor said, what salary would you be happy at if you could put down a number and that would be your salary to the rest of your life? And I remember putting down $40 a week. But today, as I look back, both numbers were ridiculous. I would like to see Henderson Industries grow. I want to see it large enough that we have employees that we don't have to worry about laying them off, that there's plenty of work here, and that I leave when I retire with the family a successful business that everyone can be proud of.
We find that many of the same individuals that used to refer to my father as the Hawk are now the eyes and ears for Hank Henderson now, because he's no longer at the company. He doesn't spend as much time at the company as he used to. And if we bring on a new maintenance person, say, I'll get a report at the end of the first day from several of the long-term employees on
What time he came in?
what time he came in, what did he do, is he a good worker, how they rate him on a scale from 1 to 10.
Whether he takes care of the truck and the van?
Yeah, they look out for the company as if it's their own.
There are a lot of people that look at Henderson Industries or other small companies that are successful and say, I want to start a business. Well, everyone can't start a business. I don't care how high you are on the IQ scale. In fact, that may not even be important. It's the personal characteristics of that person. You must look at yourself. People look at me and say, how do you stand the pressure? I don't see it as pressure. It's the way of life. It's things that I do every day, and I feel very, very comfortable doing it. Just being here and having a business operate for that length of time and growing as it did, slowly, but in a steady growth, I think that most of the things that we did were right.
Henderson Industries has grown from a New Jersey basement to $50 million in annual revenues. In his own community, Hank Henderson has pioneered innovative job and career training programs for minorities. His work has gained him widespread recognition not only here, but abroad. Today, Henderson works with leaders around the world on behalf of human rights and international development projects.